So welcome to our last event for this year. And this event is part of CYBERAKUTEN Cyber Clinic event series. Two projects cooperate here. Distance Lab is funded by Interreg Baltic Sea region and issues by Interreg Aurora. And my name is Laura Polomuri and I work at Central University of Applied Sciences. And for you who are online, so we have here about 14 person online on place here. We are drinking coffee here. Hope you can hear me and see the slides.
Yes, it works well.
Okay. Important things you should think about during this presentation. So when I talk about cybersecurity, it covers devices, softwares, and operations that keep information secure online. And data security means then all the or even the paper data. And digital safety culture means personal behavior and even organizational culture. So, have you ever thought that cybersecurity and well-being are very much intertwined? We all know that if you have access to internet, you are also vulnerable. So we cannot turn our blind eye to cybercrime. Despite of this fact, if I start my sentence with words or privacy policy, GDPR, or cybersecurity, I guess half from the audience will fall asleep, and the other half will get stressed, and only a small part thinks that, oh, what a fun topic! I could talk about this all day long. And on the other hand, then people may feel that they don't have, they have no power to influence the situation, or that this is not my problem at all, but is only the IT department's concern. For a few years ago, few days ago, this is a new days ago, I received a message saying like this: the address change has been made by an unexpected and unknown device. Please make sure it's your and no one else has made the change. And then there was a website address to some bank and a link to click on. So, well, of course, I didn't click, but I was left with the feeling that I have to check. I feel uncomfortable. So I Googled this address spam, and actually, yeah, I found a warning about this. So I was thinking this is like excellent example of a scam that makes the offer to feel that something urgent has happened and I have to immediately react on it. So you get my point. You have to have email. You need all kind of digital services. You get links to your mobile, whether even if you change your address or if you didn't do it, so it seems that you get the links. But you are left a little bit uncomfortable feeling that says that you should know better and act better. And this phenomenon is directly linked to digitalization in general. The benefits of all communication channels come from speed and efficiency. So it is generally accepted good practice to respond to every issue immediately and to expect an immediate response also. So if you send a WhatsApp message and if you didn't get the answer in 7 minutes, you are like, what happened? Maybe an accident. Why she didn't answer to me? So, and if you add to this multitasking, rush, time pressure, mixing leisure time with working hours, duties at home, kids crying, and if you work remotely, you maybe don't have breaks, and you don't have any colleague to even ask if there's something you are wondering. And if you react immediately to everything and click before you think, so you are in trouble. So here we have those good practices. Links you recognize. Consider what personal data you share. Keep your device up to date. Use strong passwords, change them often. And what do we do? Checking emails in hurry, using open Wi-Fi's, multitasking. We use easy to remember passwords. And we have like all the machines are peeping and sending us messages, and we're reacting them. That breaks our working flow. And build relationships. It refers to thing that social media thinks that, oh yeah, a new friend in LinkedIn, and we accept them because we think it's good to have a big network, and we don't even check if the persons are real. So this was about the private concept. So what if we talk about businesses that are depending on other people's personal information? Then a poorly managed level of cybersecurity can actually cause very serious problems. So this is a two-sided problem. First, the stress you get while you are thinking about all the problems, and if you get scammed, the risk to burnout is actually real. The study shows that after 3 months after the scam, the staff still feel exhausted. So we should also be aware of all digital platforms that are collecting the information about us. We should think about what kind of information we share, and if we have a business that's operating digitally. So you are responsibility for the digital space you create, for example, online shop or something. You should take care of that. That's cyber secure as well. So I collected some quotes here from micro and small-sized companies. Here we all work remotely. In the office, we could talk about things, but now our shared space is in the cloud. We talk by typing. We leave a lot of more documentation digitally than we would if we were all in the office face to face. I think this was good. So let's talk about stress now. So, stress in general, it's not a bad thing. It makes us work more effective. But prolonged stress can, according to studies, cause many physical and mental problems. So stress comes from constant pressure. If there's no chance to recover, and this in turn can lead to that it will be difficult to regulate the emotional reaction. We are more nervous. And what we can do, so we can pay attention to sources of stress. What was left unfinished during the day? Is there something annoying after the working day? Also, did I succeed today? And also, what helps you to recover? Somebody can listen to music, somebody makes sport, anything. This is we have to cut today and do something else when we can. Also during the day, maybe. Remember to create some things. Okay. So, what you can do? Plan your work. So we have to have reasonable amount of work, clear the calendar that we understand what are we going to do today. One thing at a time, no multitasking, avoid interruptions, mute beeps. This means you don't have to have all the messages open all the time. You can plan your day. Now I'm doing this, now I'm doing this, and I will open my mobile or my email at this time. And a quiet working environment is actually a good thing also. And also we need to have knowledge, and we have to remember to have time to learn new things, and also the tools has to be suitable for what we are doing. And somebody said that if you have more than 4 things you have to remember, so it's your memory will be working. It will be tired. Your brain will be tired if you have more than 4 things to remember. So use to-do lists, set time to your calendar for planning, quiet planning days, and feeling that you have time to do things as well as you would like to. So this is, I think, one important. Here one quote. I changed passwords a couple of times a year. Once it happened that an outsider visited my Facebook, and I have become more careful since then. So what if we think about this before an outsider visits our Facebook's site? Then what we can do? Make the data security as a routine. Check for updates, for example, every Monday morning when you come to your work. Check everything is okay before you start your week. Make password change days in your organization. And together discuss, educate, practice. And if you didn't do anything until now, so some tips out. So identify critical information in the company and what at least needs to be protected. Start from this. And then the blue circle here, it's this is also from one micro company, a person who said that, what if I die? That I have to make a list of digital services, what I'm using, that there's somebody who knows when I have to pay the things that are protecting my like devices, backups, updates, like this. I think it was a nice. Cybersecurity certainly spoils the fun, but maybe it would be easier if it became a routine. This is also this. So do one thing at a time. Don't stay alone. Communicate with your staff. Have a plan from before, what you do, to who you call if something happens. And yeah, don't work when you are tired or stressed. It's easier to say than do. But we can try next year. We do this. And remember to take breaks. And then I have a question here. What kind of message needs an immediate response? Is this something like from post, bank, your boss, school? What it could be that you cannot go and cook coffee and think about it before you respond. You don't need to answer, but if you have anything, you can come back to that or write it in the chat here online.
Yes, in real emergencies, if someone is falling ill or something like that, then you need to react. Get a phone call from kid at school, then in my work, if someone is going into a meeting and they need some guidance, what to say, negotiations, that would be perhaps the only time there's an immediate reaction. Otherwise not.
Yeah, it's good to think about this also before. Yeah. And then also employer has also responsibility to what to think. Learn about your stuff, connect online, offline, and it's better to be open and friendly. And if something happens, so you can feel good to go and tell that I click this thing, what I didn't maybe supposed to do then. So it's better to know this than not know. It would be fun if someone else took responsibility for cybersecurity. At the same time, I think I have to have control over everything myself. That's why I'm self-employed, so I can do everything myself. I think it was also nice that even if you are alone with your company, so you know that you want to do it. Yeah. Okay, so here is we have passwords, multi-factor authentication, VPNs, awareness, but I will not go more deeply to these now because after my presentation we will have a summary of all the year, and I think Tom here in Pietarsaari and then Johan, Anton, Simon has something to say from Ruler, right? But anyway, so I want to tell about the distance lab and the tools, and we promised to have some Christmas gifts. So these guides and tools, we can think about that they are gifts for you. The distance lab partners come from all around, from Baltic Sea, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Poland, Latvia, and Lithuania. And the project aims to create a hub that brings together actors from the Baltic Sea region, offering services and support distance working. And now we are not talking about home offices and good ergonomics, but about all the things that distance working makes possible. We can digitalize our services and work more internationally, taking into account sustainability and multi-site living. But even though we have been learning distance work practices for a few years now, we still have challenges, including the difficulty of good and inspiring collaboration across organizational boundaries, loneliness, building a meaningful working community, and recruitment, and also cybersecurity. Yeah, so there's a guide, easy to understand, easy to read in the coffee table when you are drinking coffee with your work, and it's like a funny way to do now. So it's like a theory of people of talking about cybersecurity. And what I'm so happy that our partner from Poland translated to Polish, and I think it's great. Hopefully I can do this in Finnish and Swedish also. It's you can find all of these things in our website. And then in the project, so there is an application, Your Day at Distance, and you can download it from online store from mobile. But you need some assistance from Centria's IT team to install your team there, and then your organization or your team, you can follow the well-being of people who are working distance. What I'm really happy about is that I have a guide here, which it's created together with Southwest University of Applied Sciences, together with my cybersecurity experts there. And it's about when you are recruiting people who work distance. So what you should think when you are making an interview, what kind of persons are good? Like, for example, a person who likes to learn new things is maybe better to recruit something like that than somebody who is not. Then there is cybersecurity audit forum. So it's like a questions for, can you lock the door? Does anybody hear your phone calls? Like this kind of things. So you can measure things what your employers are doing at home. Also what you should think after if somebody quit, so that the person does not have user credentials, permission or access to any systems. Then I have something you can follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thank you. Now we will do like this, that we continue the program with a summary from the spring and from the other events. And we have more, I think, more material and gifts and tools that Johanna, I think, will present more.
Yes, let me just change the slides here. And I also have a small recap about what I presented in spring. And good afternoon to everyone here and online as well. So I had a few words about how to protect against information insurance activities in spring. And these are then activities that are designed to shape our thoughts, opinions, and behaviors through misinformation, disinformation, and manipulation. The good news is, however, that we have the tools to protect ourselves and empower others as well. So first and foremost, critical thinking is perhaps the main thing, that is the shield against influence. And when you then encounter shared information, whether it's a social media post, a forwarded email, or a headline that seems too shocking to read, so one should perhaps ask oneself then, who is sharing this? What is the intent behind the message? Why does it resonate or make one react emotional? So one should remember that bad actors thrive on emotional reactions because they bypass then logic and scrutiny. Also, one layer that one could add is then comprehensive evaluation. So one should consider its context before one engages by perhaps asking, for instance, does the visual imagery seem to be sensationalized, or is the publisher credible, or what is the broader context? A single post or headline may not tell the full story, so step back and seek additional information. And also verification. Fact verification is a thing one could consider. Cross-checking information is not just a good habit. It's essential nowadays in the digital landscape that we are working in. I also had some presentations about these online scams, and you can find the presentations and recordings on the Issues Project website that is found on the cybernort.se webpage, where you can find the full set of information. Laura will probably put the links in the chat that you can find them there then, and also we probably will send this by email, this information to everybody that has taken part today. But these online scams are things that don't just target the unwary. They prey on anyone who isn't prepared. And these scammers are masterful in creating offers or scenarios that catch us off guard. So to recognize a scam, one could, for instance, ask oneself, is the offer too good to be true? Or there might be some sort of a case of urgency, a false sense of urgency that tries to pressure one to act without thinking. Or is someone asking personal information that might be an indication of a scam as well? So if something feels off or if it feels too good to be true, then one should perhaps pause and try to investigate further. And when browsing online, ensuring the authenticity of a website is crucial. One could try to double check the URL. Scammers might use slightly altered spellings for the URL. And also the HTTPS encryption is one thing that one could take a look at so that it contains that. And also one could perhaps even try to research the website. Phishing emails are then also perhaps one of the most effective scam techniques, and this is one thing that one should keep in mind as well. Avoid clicking on links in suspicious emails. This is probably something that has been raised many times before. One could also try to remember to inspect the sender's email address. If it comes, for instance, from Gmail, but it should be something else, then you should be quite suspicious. But while some scams are very sophisticated, then other scams may betray themselves with unprofessional language or vague messaging. And naturally, despite our best efforts, cyber attacks and scams can still succeed. So what matters most is then how we respond. The difference between quick recovery and long-term damage often comes down to the actions we take in the critical moments after discovering a breach or scam. So when you discover a breach or realize that you have fallen victim for a scam, then usually the time is of essence. So one could take some immediate steps, for instance, by changing the compromised credentials. One starts with the breached account and then updates any other accounts that use the same password. Also, one should then inform affected parties. So if the breach involves shared systems or sensitive data belonging to others, then one should notify them promptly, because transparency allows everyone to take protective measures. One should perhaps also keep in mind then to notify cybersecurity centers such as Kyberturvallisuuskeskus in Finland, and also contact law enforcement such as the police. Especially for scams involving financial loss or identity theft, law enforcement can then guide one to the next steps and then may help recover stolen assets. And also banks are interested in all kinds of this sort of information so that they can try to prevent further exploitation of their systems. And also the importance of backups can not be overstated. It's crucial for responding effectively to breaches. So always keep in mind to regularly back up critical data. So with reliable backups, even the worst breaches can usually become manageable. Social media then has naturally revolutionized how we work today, our lives, but they can also pose then significant risks to our privacy and security. But by then regularly updating and reviewing the privacy settings, one can ensure that one remains in control of what others can access. And by then taking charge of the privacy settings, one sets the first line of defense against unwanted intrusions. Also, one should keep in mind that every post, photo, or comment that one shares online tells a story about oneself, and sometimes even more than one intends. So keep in mind what you share online and limit all sort of sensitive personal details. One can then protect oneself quite easily by then accepting connections only from people that one knows or can verify. And one is then beware of profiles with minimal activity. Criminals often create fake accounts with stock photos, generic bios, and a few posts that they use for their own purposes. And also perhaps one should monitor existing connections as well, because even trusted accounts can be hacked. So one should stay alert to unusual behavior. I had also a few words about the etiquette or online etiquette, and a few rules about how to communicate in a accepted way online that you can then find in the presentations in spring. And one should keep in mind that thoughtful posting ensures that one's contributions elevate the conversation, not take away from it. So it's a good thing to try to keep the etiquette online in a way that is accepted for everybody. And also one thing one should remember that every online action leaves a trail. So understanding this can help one be more mindful of the digital footprint one leaves. So also try to foster then meaningful dialogues, celebrate diversity, avoid discriminatory language or stereotypes, and also encourage positive conversations. Try to be the voice that uplifts and steers discussions towards constructive outcomes. Also, a few words have been told in spring about best practices. So protecting ourselves doesn't contain only awareness of threats, but also consistent implementation of best practices. And one good practice is to enable multi-factor authentication wherever it is possible. And passwords are no longer enough to keep criminals at bay. Multi-factor authentication provides an extra layer of protection by requiring multiple forms of verification. Also try to use strong passwords and then naturally have its own unique password for every service that one uses in order to prevent that one breach then affects other accounts. And also one could consider using a password manager, because we nowadays have many passwords to manage. These tools then generate and store passwords securely, making it easier to maintain good habits. And one thing that criminals do still nowadays is that they exploit known vulnerabilities in an outdated systems and software, and by keeping the systems up to date, one reduces the risks notably. So practicing cybersecurity doesn't have to be complicated, but it requires consistency. And if you then also take multi-factor authentication into use, creating strong and unique passwords and keeping systems up to date. One keeps oneself and also the community in a better stance against the criminals that operate constantly. So this is a short recap about what I talked in spring. And perhaps as the last words, one could say that and remind us all that the power to protect our digital lives begins with us all. So cybersecurity is not just about tools, it's about habits that then commit us to building safer digital lives. Perhaps one practice at a time. So thank you for my presentation. And now I think Lule probably can take the word.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Yep, perfect. So my takeaways will not be quite as lengthy as yours, so they will be very short.
Yes, well, I tried to make it short, but I still talk too much. That's my problem.
But you also have some more sessions.
Yes, and a lot of good things to say, so it's not criticism. It's, I think I'll just try to summarize my session that I had. I recognize some of the names here, so I will keep myself short. But as some of you might remember, I talked about risk management, and I essentially did a very, very quick crash course, sort of from start to finish of a cycle of risk management, where you should always, as has been mentioned here earlier today, the first thing you should do, try to identify your critical information or your critical business processes or your critical systems, for example. Those are what we should be focusing on first. And that's number one. Then we should move on to have a look at the organization. What is it that we do? Where are we located in the world? What are the potential risks towards us? Maybe we don't have to earthquake secure our server halls if we live in Sweden, for example. We don't have a lot of earthquakes, but maybe we should do something else instead. So it's always good to be risk aware and risk focused and work in a risk centric way, but I think that we should also be aware, and we should always be what's the word?
Aware and prepared.
Aware and prepared, yeah, exactly. That's a good good way of putting it. Yes. So identify risks is a good first step, I think, especially towards the critical systems and processes that we've identified. Then what can we actually do towards those risks, and what should we do? What is it that we should secure ourselves against? So here's some brainstorming is always good. And if you're in a leadership position, I would always encourage you guys to try to include your employees that work with the information or work with the systems, because they will often have more insights than you do. So user involvement is always a good thing to do, and it will make your employees feel more engaged and more they will get more engaged in the security work, which is good, I think. I think I'll stop there. I don't want to move on too much, but include your employees, identify your critical systems, identify your critical processes, and keep doing that and work. Always think risk will be my final words.
Yes, and I think that's also a very good segue into my recap. And I just want to remind you of the cheese slices, that we need to think of security as in layers, but we should also remember that all these layers, they have holes in them, looking like Swiss cheese slices. And no matter how we stuff these holes and make them disappear to become solid, there always some vulnerability, making an incident inevitable, so that we need to be prepared for an incident to occur, even if we feel like we have all the protective measures in place. We need to have some redundancy in our systems, and we need to work on how to act when the incident occurs. And I remember getting a question on how can small organizations do this, and then I remembered I said that outsourcing security to bigger companies like Google and Amazon, or whatever you have your systems like Microsoft Office, etc., is a good way of becoming more secure, because they have much more resources of working on security than most of the smaller companies. But main takeaway, attacks will happen, and we need to be prepared when they do. And also that an attack takes a lot of steps. There's a lot of slices in the protective cheese. Those who were at my talk, they remember the cheese. But that's all I have to say for today.
Thank you. Yeah, so I can also try to summarize some of my thoughts based on the sessions that we have had, and also from what I talked about cyber hygiene. But first, I think that we should, when we talk about cybersecurity, I think we should think about what kind of picture we send out. It's not like a blame game, or it's not just a teenager sitting in a hoodie. It can be in media, or when you read about security, it's often about the very high-tech thing or the dark side when something has happened. I think that we can do so much more in between there. So I think that try to find a way to make it more interesting for other people than the experts or those that are in there is one thing that is important. Also, we discussed during my session about how we can make some kind of change. And I think that one thing that we should start talking about is during development talk or meetings, how are you working with these aspects in your daily work? I think that we can do something, all of us, and I think it's important that those questions are raised. Sometimes we talk about this kind of awareness campaign and programs. I'm not sure if that works for everyone, and that the effect is what you think it would be, but some kind of year wheel or long-term plan for what you would like to implement and do could be good, but also to try to target it to some specific occasions, or something that you can relate to. That could be, for example, in relation to like Black Friday or Christmas shopping online. You have something related to that, and then during the summer you have something related to social media presence or something like that. So you sort of connect it to what people are working with, then it can maybe be a bit more effective, although I don't think that it will solve everything. I think it's important that everyone start doing something. We can all improve and contribute to cybersecurity. It's not the IT department or the manager's responsibility. It's all our responsibilities, but we have different responsibilities, and we can do different things. So start asking questions, be curious. We can also try to train ourselves in the team we are working in. That could be to just raise a question: how would we react if our servers are down, or what would you do in this or this case? And then you can have a discussion for half an hour or something like that, just to start, reflect and discuss together, so you have a sort of the similar idea of that. So maybe there is no shortcuts, but it's a lot of workarounds, and those workarounds sometimes creates the problems. So I think that we already, when we try to design systems, we need to include security, and it's not maybe your responsibilities here in this group, but I think from a development perspective, I think it needs to be included earlier. And we need to invest in security, make sure that everyone understands that this is not something that we can skip. We need to pay attention to what's happening, and I think it's even more important now in the geopolitical environment that we are in. Put it on the agenda and bring it up to the leadership so that everyone feel that this is something to work with. And also try to include this perspective of people, technology, and process. Not saying that the IT department is responsible for technology and then we can, as employees, do something else. It's important to understand the connection between those, how we work in the processes and what we would do and support each other in that way. Yeah, so maybe what we have talked about during these sessions during the whole year is, for some of you, it's not so much new, but it's still relevant to repeat and think about it. And even if we know that we should act in a certain way, it's not always the case that we do so. So I think it's good to take a step back and realize what can I do to improve my security.